Hi, my name's Sally Bolton and I'm a health and fitness coach and I specialise in menopause health, so I look after women that are going through the whole menopause stage, so from peri to post. I think, do you know what I really think it boils down to is the lack of information and knowledge around it. I think it's taboo because we don't talk about it. It's like periods, right? There's still quite taboo around that, and I think it's because it's to do with female bodies and it's to do with periods, and people feel a little bit awkward talking about it. But also, from a lot of women that I've spoken to, it's taboo for them because they don't want to come to terms with the fact that their body's changing and they get into a stage of life. There's this whole fear of I'm getting old and I'm getting past it, and a lot of that. And I think it's just a lack of education and lack of understanding which makes it a lot more taboo than it needs to be. It is starting to get better, but I think because we're seeing it more now, aren't we, in the media, we're seeing campaigns in the government, we're seeing celebrities getting on board with it. But when you're actually on the ground, still talking to everyday people, you still realise there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Depending on where you read, there's anywhere between 34 and 48 symptoms that are directly related to menopause. And those are split into physical and psychological. So psychological is kind of mental, cognitive, emotional. And they can be extremely overwhelming for a lot of women. Like I said to you before, look, 25% of women will go through menopause, the whole journey, with very few symptoms at all. But that means 75% will, and 25% of those will be very severe. So there's a range of symptoms, severities, how long they last, and a lot of them, I would say probably the more psychological ones, or the cognitive, mental, emotional ones, they can be very hard to put your finger on what's actually going on, and it's very rare for someone to go, oh, well, I'm feeling like that because it's down to my perimenopause. So there's just not an alignment there in terms of what I'm feeling and what it's related to, and I think that's part of the big problem. A lot of women, particularly in the workplace, they don't speak up about what they're going through for fear of uh, losing their job or not getting the promotion or somehow being kind of maybe not ridiculed but maybe being pushed out of new projects or being sidelined. Um, so yeah, there's huge pressure around that as well, which obviously means that a lot of women are actually leaving their jobs early because of this. 1 in 10 have actually considered leaving their job. 1 in 4 have left their job. These kind of statistics we need to make sure are no longer happening, because what it boils down to is these people just need some extra support as they're going through this. It isn't because they can't do the job. They can still do an amazing job. You think about someone that's kind of, let's say for example, someone that's 45 that starts to go through perimenopause. She's probably at the top of her game. She's got lots of knowledge, lots of experience, lots of wisdom, probably a lot of client base as well, depending on the industry that she's in. Now, she might start having a few bad days, a couple of bad weeks. All she needs is some extra support to be able to kind of get through those moments, but she's still amazing at what she does. But a lot of women are just staying quiet and just not speaking up about it for fear of what might come back. The whole workplace agenda is key for businesses. When we look at the stats of women that are leaving work because they can't cope with their symptoms, it's huge, and that's actually putting a dent in businesses. If you look at the average cost of replacing someone of menopausal age, it's 35,000. That's depending on industry, obviously. So it plays a massive dent on the business. Also, we don't want to be losing our talented employees. You think how many years that person spent on developing themselves, growing, like having relationships with clients, the knowledge that they've got, the experience that they've got, that's vital for a business. If that goes because they're not being supported in the workplace, then that's huge as well. And also, you know, we have a responsibility, a social responsibility, to make sure that everyone can continue to thrive at work, which basically means having that support in place so that when someone does come to having issues with symptoms, you've got that in place so you can support them through it. Staff need to know that they can go and approach their senior leaders, managers, so they can have that conversation. So there needs to be an element of we're all on the same page. You know that you can come and talk to us if you're struggling, and so it's very much a two-way thing there. Because women shouldn't be leaving their jobs because they feel like they can't do it anymore, they're not being supported at work. So the two massive things there, and we are all responsible for making sure that we support that and make sure that that happens. So obviously one of my big things is to make sure that companies, managers feel comfortable having those conversations, because like we said, a lot of the managers are still male and they can feel awkward, which is, you know, it's a fair comment. So it's making sure that they are trained enough so that they feel comfortable having those conversations. And colleagues need to know that if they are struggling, they can go and have that conversation whereby they can come to, you know, some kind of support going forward, like a pack going forward that supports them. So it's huge from both sides. Lifestyle is everything. It's huge. Now, when we talk to women in the workshops, we know we obviously give them a breakdown of options that they have in terms of managing their menopause. So of course you've got the medical aspect, so you've hormone replacement therapy, which is very much a conversation with your healthcare practitioner, your GP. Complementary, which is not very heavily backed in science. But lots of anecdotal stories from people that decide to go through a more kind of natural, herbal approach. And it can still be very, very impactful as well. But lifestyle, and a lot of the top experts in menopause, they all agree, they all say exactly the same thing, despite, you know, whether you're on HRT, complementary, lifestyle is going to be so important as you go through this phase of life. So, you know, we kind of break it down into exercise, nutrition, sleep management, which I think overall is probably the top one, we're going to be honest. And then we've got stress management and also mindset as well. So if you think about it, the way that you support your body is going to have a huge impact. Now, as you're going through hormonal changes, it's key that you're supporting your body as much as possible as you go through. It's important at any time of life, but it becomes even more important. Your health is really important, your self-care is really important. Managing what's going on in your head is really important, because it can be a very, very challenging time. So having that resilience, being able to talk to people for that extra support as you go through this. I think the biggest one, and probably already touched on this already, is that it's just a women's problem. And really, menopause impacts everybody, whether it's directly or indirectly. And this is such a big thing to change, because a lot of men feel like it's nothing to do with them, they don't need to know about it, it doesn't affect them. But whether it's at home or whether you're at work, it is going to have an impact on you indirectly at some point. So for me, this whole idea that, oh, menopause is just for women, it's just a women's, it is about women, obviously, but the rest of everybody else are impacted as well. So again, I'm on this mission to try and get men to be educated away from the women, so they have that safe space to talk about it, because it's important that we understand what it's like from their perspective, as they go through, you know, whether it's in the workplace, the challenges that they experience in the workplace with female staff, or whether it's at home. Because we know that divorce rates go up at this time of stage of life as well, which is no coincidence. So for me, there are other myths, but for me that's the one that shouts out the most, is this idea that, oh, it's just about women. It's not. It's a conversation for everybody.